Hi, how are you? This is Dr. Farley. This is a second video that kind of backs up to the first video. I'm calling them philosophy number one. This is philosophy number two. So the title of this is going to be Snake Oil Quack or Science-Based Healthcare. And then it's going to be philosophy number two, True Healthcare. So the point being is this, chiropractors have been kicked around for a long time, saying that how we view health is not based on science. It's a long story where we got tagged with the word that we are quacks and that we, provide snake oil information. And the interesting thing is I'm in my 25th year of practice. We're going through the coronavirus right now. And there's never have I seen a more important time to be having a solid philosophy on healthcare, that I know that my family is safe and I'm providing the best services to my patients so that they're safe when a virus moves through. And just to go over with you some of the basics here. The basic idea of chiropractic, going back to 1895, is that there's a tone inside the system, and the nervous system is the master system. On about the 19th day, the first system that we can see form is the nervous system. And from that day forward, all other parts, all other cells, all other subsystems run off of the nervous system. So if we're talking about the super systems now, we have basically the nervous system is the master system. We have the immune system. We have the endocrine system, and then we also have our microbiome. And they are all in communication to let us adapt and deal with the outside world. So there's been a lot of talk about this concept that the immune system is the floating nervous system. So it's the circulating nervous system is what they call it, the floating nervous system. And they refer to it as a super system. So what does that actually mean? It means if the nervous system is not working optimally, you will not and cannot and do not have an optimally functioning immune system. And what everyone's dying from coronavirus is an over response. They have low immune tolerance. And then when the virus comes in, it creates an over-immune reaction in the lung, and we die. So now why is that? Well, we have to look at someone's nervous system if we're going to look at the immune system. The concept to split them is totally ridiculous, as I just told you. The immune system is the floating nervous system. So if you go somewhere and we can actually measure neurological function, and we know that that is the master system that runs all other systems, we can then make the connection to say that the person doesn't have good levels of health and that their immune system would be compromised if the nervous system is not working optimally. Now, I just want to go over with you what we've also figured out in the last 20 years on the nervous system. So if you've been to see a chiropractor and they tell you that, hey, the spine is misaligned, and that this nerve goes to your stomach, and this nerve goes to your lung, and this nerve goes down to your bladder, and that that misalignment, called a subluxation, is interfering with the nervous system, it's false and it's true. So the reality of the matter is that the misalignment coming down is not a bone out of place. Basically what happens is the input from the brain, the afferent input, is incorrect or not as ideal as it should be. And over a time frame, that changes the tone of the nervous system. Like music, good music is good tone, bad music is bad tone. And we want good tone so that it runs the whole system properly. And remember, every cell, including your immune system, your endocrine system, your microbiome, everything is run off of the super system called the nervous system. So that tone is determined by the afferent information coming from our receptor systems. And then that sets the tone. That tone has also been called your central integrative state. Your central integrative state goes way back to D.D. Palmer in 1895 talking about tone. The original premise of chiropractic was based on neurological tone. And now, why do we even go to the spine? I mean, this is an interesting idea too. Oh, is it for back pain and neck pain? No. Why do we go to the spine? Because there's a lot of receptors. It's a neurological based profession, not an orthopedic quasi-physical therapy based profession. It's not for back pain, neck pain, and headaches. Does it help with those things? Yes. Is that the purpose of it? No. So how does it work? When the chiropractor that you see determines you have good tone or bad tone. Again, in my office here, we go so deep into neurological testing here, and most offices don't. But they should still have some analysis of what's going on with the nervous system. Anyway, you measure the tone, and then you provide treatment. Now, what's the purpose of the treatment? It, again, is not to align the spine. This is backwards thinking. It is to activate receptors that then fire up to your brain, turn the brain on, and that activation is what turns the neurons on. And now we light up the brain, and if we light up the brain, what happens? Everything else works better. It's a pretty simple idea. I mean, it is so simple. And by the way, it's not just simple, it's beautiful. It's precise. It is, without a doubt, sound. It is scientific. It is irrefutable. You don't have to believe this. This is how our nervous systems work. So, if we find someone that is trained in this, and again, there's different levels of training, but if we find someone that is trained in this, and the only profession that focuses on this are chiropractors. And then there's I'll call them the basic chiropractors. There's different levels, and then there's very high-end, functional, neurologically based chiropractors. And in my opinion, those are some of the best doctors to see. So once we determine this tone, good tone or bad tone, we then would use input called brain-based care to go after the weak areas. Pretty simple. As the nervous system gets activated, everything else just works better. It's very simple. I mean, it is very simple. And so as the nervous system works better, the patient feels better. I also want to get involved with someone else, had mentioned, the idea of scientific and blah, blah, blah. I want to go over a couple things. There's a chiropractor named Dr. James Chestnut that really drilled down into this. And I want to talk about, FDA approval, double-blind studies, and what is scientific and what's not. So FDA basically means that, we study something from this point of view, and you have to go through these parameters. Now, why? Mainly because it's dangerous, okay? So you got to go through these steps because it could kill you, whereas when we're doing things to restore normal physiology, we don't need that process. We don't need FDA clearance of vitamins and minerals because they are extremely safe. By the way, I have been using vitamins and minerals for 35 years. I have been prescribing vitamins and minerals for 25 years. I know doctors that we've given out millions and millions and millions of capsules. And I don't know anyone personally that's seen any major reactions or any death whatsoever in any patients that they've ever given out vitamins to. We definitely can't say that for the dangerous drugs. Drugs, account for over 120,000 deaths a year, and that's when you take them properly. If we were to go in and look at the side effects, they're massive. So again, do I have some patients that have some side effects? Yes. We usually have to jockey around. Sometimes get off that product, try another product. But now, why are they so safe? Because they're part of normal physiology. It's very simple. I mean, it's part of normal physiology. It is not foreign to the system. So they are physiological, compatible care. And only when we improve physiology do we actually raise our level of health. And that should be our focus, to raise our level of health. If we come in and we're totally broken down, you could still regain some of your health. You could still get stable with some of your health, but there's probably some permanency there. And it doesn't mean that you should ever give up on physiological based care. If you are a patient that requires a Parkinson's medication because it helps you move, then fantastic. If you say, without it, doc, I can't move, then fantastic. That does not ever replace a focus and 100% effort on trying to restore normal physiology. Your goal should always be to try to improve physiology, reach your optimal level of human performance. That should be the goal from birth to death. And you have to go somewhere where someone understands this. So I want to also talk about double-blind studies that are done on some of these medications that are out there, and whether this is really scientific or not, because we hear this all the time. And I just heard it again from someone. There's no studies on this. It's really ridiculous. So we take 1,000 patients over here. We give them drug A, whatever the drug is. We take 1,000 patients over here, and we don't, okay? So this is the double-blind study. The doctors that are involved in this study, they don't know who's getting the drug and who's getting the placebo, okay? Now, let me just say this. When you do a double-blind study, a true double-blind study, you should be able to remove all variables. There is no variation whatsoever. And if there's any variation, immediately the double-blind study is not valid. Period. It's not valid. So, how could we take 1,000 people over here and 1,000 people over here? How can we remove all the variations? I mean, it is just ridiculous. So in the 1,000 people over here, we have people that were raped. They're 20 pounds overweight, 40 pounds overweight, eat right, don't eat right, don't exercise, do exercise, are in a terrible relationship, have been on and off medications, on birth control, not on birth control. I mean, dramatic. And over here, we have the same thing. So if we can't remove all those variables, and there's absolutely no way to do it with a human being, no way. Because then you also have something called biochemical individuality. What does that mean? It means that my body may require more vitamin C than your body. So how do we remove these variables? We can't. So what does it mean to you? It means that all drugs, period, when they move through this double-blind study, are actually not scientific. Because if you cannot remove all variables, it totally says that the double-blind process is not valid. So can you believe that? So actually, all the studies that are done, the reasons why they come out, and then we find out that the drug kills everybody, is because we can't account for all these variations. So if we go back to normal physiology, how do things work? And we can measure normal physiology. And we know how things work, which is understanding physiology, which is what I'm an expert in. I'm an applied physiologist. Then over time, we can apply treatments to restore normal physiology. And can we assume, with great scientific understanding, that if we restore normal physiology, the person's health is going to go up? The answer is yes. So do we need double-blind studies when we're restoring normal physiology on how it works against coronavirus? No. Do we need double-blind studies when we're restoring normal physiology on a patient with depression, anxiety, bipolar, thyroid? No. It's ridiculous. That's the medical game, and we don't have to play that game. We step back and we say we're not part of that process. We're not part of that game. We're not part of this tricking numbers to come up with statistics to then show that a small percentage of patients got a clinical effectiveness, and then when we manipulate the numbers, we show that we've got a statistical effectiveness. I mean, it's really ridiculous. And I just went over with you again the flu shot. They tell you the clinical, the statistical effectiveness is 60%. The clinical effectiveness is 6%. It's a joke. So, if you want to restore your health, you must restore how your body functions, because function is health. You must find someone, a doctor, trained in how things work. you must address the structure. You must. How can we not look at the structure and understand that the structure governs function? I mean, it's backwards. So now I would say this: is everyone involved in this process doing the highest level possible? No. But I would say this: without having someone involved on your team that understands normal physiology, and again, their level of knowledge could be very low. I put a lot of time into studying physiology on a regular basis, and so I can connect a lot of dots that other docs that are involved with physiology cannot, because they just haven't put the time in. The more time you put in, the more you understand how the beauty of the system, and that all we're trying to do is remove things that are interfering with normal physiology and provide things that are improving normal physiology. And by the way, I want to throw it in again. Drugs do not do that. They don't. So we should put them in their place. We use them when we're in a crisis. To think we're going to get on these for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, without addressing the underlying root functional cause, why is our physiology doing this, is totally ridiculous. It will not bring you health. It does not bring you health because it does not restore normal physiology. Pretty simple. So I hope this makes sense. You should watch these back to back. Hopefully you watched the first one and now you watch this one. And over time, whether you're coming in with a chronic condition, whether you're a top athlete, or whether you're just saying, hey, I want to get my family evaluated, we can do that for you. And if you're already under someone's care that's providing this for you, I just hope that you are reinforced in your mind that physiology, science-based healthcare is where you should be moving. And bad philosophy telling you that your genes are wrong and we're going to fix everything with chemicals, you should run, and you should keep it in its proper place. You use it only when you're in a crisis. And hopefully you do things right along the way to not get in the crisis. That is the message that we need to have out to people. Get out of crisis. Don't put yourself in a crisis. I mean, I see what's happening with healthcare right now. It's like we're all standing in front of cars going 90 miles an hour. How about we just don't stand in front of cars going 90 miles an hour? How about we change our philosophy on healthcare? How about we focus on restoring normal physiology? How about we go to real doctors that are providing true healthcare, and not pathology-based doctors that want to tell you that you're broken, your genes are bad, and you pop a pill for everything. This system doesn't work. It has failed us. So hopefully you found this interesting. If you have any questions, as always, reach out. Thank you.